to break the ice. So, if you could have a superpower, what would it be?
Oh man, this movie's like really old now, but I can't remember the name of it. I watched it on the plane the other day, and the guys have the ability to teleport anywhere in the world at any time, so they can move. So just instantly, they have the ability to go and teleport. So I'd love to be able to move into anywhere, anytime across the world. So I'd like to have breakfast in Brazil, dinner in China, and then go and sleep on the top of Mount Everest.
What's your favourite food?
KFC. Can we pause there? Because I actually also have done some work commercially for KFC, so I feel really proud. That's probably the best work I've ever done in my life. It was outside the test kitchen, just so you're all aware.
Your favourite Bible character?
My favourite Bible character, Joseph.
Why is that?
Joseph the dreamer. What was the question? Sorry, why?
Yeah.
Why? Because Joseph gets called. Joseph lives his life with immense integrity, and he gets called at the beginning of his life to do something amazing with his life. But we get the privilege of watching him outwork his journey over many, many years. And there's one verse in the Bible, literally in one verse, and it says Joseph was in prison for 3 years. I wonder how you'd feel if tomorrow you went to prison for 3 years, whether you'd feel God left you, was with you. But Joseph just serves with integrity the whole way. He's in prison, forgotten about, and that's just one kind of blip in his life. So, yeah, Joseph always inspired me. And I've had a few dreams. I'll tell you a dream in a moment that my wife had about Benga. It's not a weird dream, don't worry. My wife had a dream about Benga, and that dream changed the trajectory of our lives, believe it or not.
Whoa.
And part of that dream also involves you all. Look at that for a teaser trailer, hey? Grace is like, sorry, this is meant to be quick fire.
What's your favourite Bible verse?
What's my favourite Bible verse? I'm not sure. What's my favourite Bible verse? I like the verse, those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. So, but I think in truth, probably John 15:4 says, if you remain united to me, I will remain united to you, and you'll bear much fruit. And I came to faith on the back of that verse. I came out of, do you want to know the story?
No, not yet.
She's like, this guy's the slowest guy in the quick fire round. Okay, I'm ready. Next one.
Favourite football team?
Arsenal, no doubt. I'm trying to be good now, like I'll be quiet.
This was a requested question, and basically the question was, why was Josh your favourite young person to work with?
She made me feel old now. Do you know what? Josh was very well behaved. I don't know how he is now. He was more well behaved than his brother. So. Yeah, no. Josh was a very dedicated young man, and from a very early age he decided to serve the Lord, and that gave us great joy. Amen. You can pay me later.
The last question
Focused.
is, what do you like about living at the beach?
What do I like about living at the beach? Yeah, do you know what? We lived in Chafford for a long time. So we moved from East London to Chafford. And when we moved from East London, I remember walking around the gorge thinking that I convinced my wife at that time that we were moving to the countryside because of the gorge in the middle of Chafford. And what I love about the beach is being able to just walk for miles and miles and miles. And it's like, this is actually true. I know I've made a lot of jokes, but this is actually true that I do a lot of my prayer looking at the sea, just staring at the sea and praying there. So for me, the sea and being around the beach, we've lived in Cape Town. We had the privilege to live in Cape Town for 5 years. So we've always been around sea and mountains for the last decade. And I find it really easy to find God in nature, even in the gorge. So, even bigger. It's not as big now. Now I look at it, I'm like, this is actually quite small. But it's good when it snows.
Okay. So now we're moving on to the interview section when we will
Okay.
ask you questions about your walk with Christ.
I'm ready.
So the first question is, when did you first give your life to Christ and what led you to that decision?
So I grew up in Ilford. Look, I normally have to say where that is, but you will all know where that is. I went to Baptist church with my parents. When I was 11 years old, I remember kneeling next to the bunk bed in my bedroom and praying. I always had a sense of who God was. I would say that's when I became a Christian, when I was 11. I would say when I was 19 was when I really understood what that meant. I'd come out of the back of a 2.5-year relationship with a young lady who lived in Stapleford Abbots, Romford Way. And her mum was a very, very strong Christian, and she really helped us and helped me during that time. And then that girl sensibly broke up with me. I went to what now doesn't exist. There used to be a nightclub in Ilford called Fifth Avenue. Benga, look at Benga. It's the only one that went, oh, yeah, I know. Yeah. And it was 2 o'clock in the morning. It was 2 o'clock in the morning. I was going home and I was walking and I went to the church was open and there was 3 people there praying. It was a 24-hour prayer meeting. There's 3 people praying. One of them brings a mattress. Who brings a mattress to a 24-hour prayer meeting? That's just, and Angela, a friend of my mum's, then I sat in my mum's chair because my mum always sat in the same seat. And Angela came up to me and she said, Steve, you've got to make a decision as to what you're going to do with your life. You can't live in 2 worlds. And she helped me to understand that verse, John 15:4. She said, I think if you dedicate your life to God, again today afresh, he's going to use your life to bear much fruit, but you've got to decide what you want to do. So I decided, I'm not saying you should do this. It's quite a good move, but I'm not saying you should do this. But I decided to go to every single meeting that the church had for 3 months. So that means you have to go to 7 a.m. prayer meetings. It means you have to go to mums and toddlers groups. It means I just went to everything. Wow. Literally, sure, I'll do it 3 months. I was like, if I invest 3 months of my life to figure out if God's real, what have I got to lose? If at the end of 3 months I want to walk away, then I'll walk away. And I was 19, I'm 42, I haven't walked away yet. Wow. I don't go to every meeting anymore. But, yeah, so that was it.
What would you say your favourite thing about being a Christian is?
Oh, wow. I don't think I've ever been asked that. There's obvious stuff about coming to faith. And I think my answer probably would have changed over time. But I think that God called me, being a Christian has called me into 2 very deep things in my life. One is adventure and the other is community. So I think that because I've followed Jesus, I've had the privilege of going on an amazing adventure with some people that have become like family and have very, very deeply loved my family and have served, and we've been able to serve them. And I think that that's a very unique thing. I think the church brings together people that come from very, very different backgrounds. You don't see it just yet because predominantly in the local church, everybody lives near you. But when you become part of the global church and you just, in lots of different ways, you don't have to leave the country to do that, but in lots of different ways, you just realise the church really is a very, very unique community. It brings together people that would never meet in any other part of life and would really, really get to know each other. So, yeah, I think I've just been really, really fortunate in that. Yeah, there's been crazy years. Like, you'll hear some of my story later, but my wife and I decided to live 1 year without. Well, we lived quite a few years without raising any sense of. We weren't being paid a salary. So churches, individuals, people were supporting us. God was providing for us. Call it living by faith. And I remember we were living in Cape Town. That year, I had been able to go on ministry in India. I'd been into Mumbai, India. I'd been to see a friend in Addis Ababa, and I'd been on holiday in Ethiopia, in Addis, with this friend. I had eaten at the top of the Shard in London. There's a Chinese in the top of there. I bet some of you have been there to that Chinese in the top of the Shard in London on our anniversary. And I'd lived in Cape Town. So I'd done Cape Town, Addis, and we'd done like safari in Joburg. And I don't say all that so you think, oh my goodness, so there. I say that because then I went to a conversation with one of my friends who's not a Christian. And he said, what I don't understand is I'm working hard all year round, earning money to do maybe one of the things that you've just told me you've done in 12 months. And from what I can see, you don't have a job and you travel around with the church. He's like, you need to just explain to me what on earth's going on in your life. It's just deep adventure, deep community that God can sometimes call you into. So it's unique to the church.
How did you know that God was calling you to do what you do now?
How did I know? I'll explain the dream we had later. I think there's been some very significant times in my life where God has given me... The reason I said Joseph, you said, why did you say Joseph? Because the way God has guided me, and he will guide you differently, or maybe the same, is that he's given me 2 or 3 very significant dreams in my life, physical dreams. I've dreamt something overnight, or my wife has dreamt something overnight. And it's been a real sense, there's been a sense of call and momentum. And I think that I think that God's got more for your lives and my lives than we quite realise. I think it just takes a very, very long time. So there's stuff Benga would know, Josh would know, that I've felt called to for many, many years that's still yet to come. And there's stuff I'm walking in now that we were praying for then. And I want you to know that as I walked in here today and I sat down, I kind of smiled, because some of you are what, like 13, like 12, 13, 14. And I thought, man, like we were ministering in Chafford before you were born. Like literally, we were ministering to young, that's probably true, right?
Yes,
that's true, right?
Yeah.
That we were ministering to young people in your church, in your area before you were born. That means that there were people that I know, Anton and Alana to name some, good friends of ours in Cape Town, my wife and I, Benga and Obi, that prayed for you and prayed for youth work in your church before you were even born. So I walk in here today and you say like, how do you, no, it's good. This actually the answer, you are the answer to some of our prayers. And I want you to know that. You're the answer. We prayed for you and prayed for there to be youth work and amazing stuff going on, stuff like this happening, before we even knew your name. But God knew. So I just have that confidence for me that I'm both really important to God and really unimportant in that I'm like one of however many billion people there are on the earth. So he knows every single hair on my head, and yet it's just not that deep. There's loads of us. And he needs me just to get on and be confident in what he's asked me to do. So I live in that kind of tension of, it's both really, really, I'm really, really known and loved, and at the same time, like, I don't need to take myself too seriously. Just need to get on with what he's asked me to do and go through it.
Amen.
Sorry, long answer.
It's fine. How was your time in South Africa?
How was my time?
Yeah.
We really love South Africa. We love it. I don't think our time's finished in terms of what we're doing. That's why I laughed. How was our time in that we still feel very connected to the work that we're doing there. Again, it's funny, like coming back in that sense that there's a story that's weaved between you all and what you're doing here and what they're doing there and what God's using. There's a very well-worn path between Chafford 100 and Cape Town, bizarrely, because that's the kind of thing that God does. And I thought I would go there and be able to really help and do a load of great work. And what I've realised is that God's just working everywhere. He's at work absolutely everywhere. And it was less about what I thought I could do and what I thought we could bring and what we could do as a family, and more about us just going with what God was already doing. But yeah, like I would encourage any of you to grab hold of what God's doing in the nations, like beyond what you see right now. Go on adventures, go and see the world, go and see what God's doing in lots of different areas. And me personally, have never experienced some of the things that I saw God do there anywhere else. That doesn't mean he doesn't do them anywhere else. It just means I haven't seen them. We saw stuff, and so now there's, 3 purpose-built centres, 70 staff, thousands of young people being helped. But when I first went out to Cape Town in South Africa, it was a room this size right now. Only 30 young people. And yet I saw God move in such a way that I kind of knew he was always wanting to do something there. So yeah, the short summary would be that God is doing amazing things in Cape Town. He's doing amazing things amongst the young people in Cape Town. He's doing amazing things amongst the specific work that your church has been partnered with, that we as a family have been partnered with. And should you want to, that can be part of your story. Because there's a well-worn path between these two places and between the young people in those two places. I do just, however, believe that God doesn't just turn up overseas. He turns up wherever people are willing to open their hands and ask him to. So what they've experienced there, you could be experiencing here. I don't think there's anything unique about it, but I do think people have just got a posture to want to serve and really, really want to open themselves up to the Spirit of God and the movement of God. So yeah.
The last question is, do you have any advice for Christians living in the modern world?
Yeah, and some of it will come as we go. What do I think? I think that we've got to a stage where people want to strip out from faith, from Christianity, from the church. They want everything that they want on their own terms. And what I mean by that is, you live in a world that wants mindfulness but doesn't want prayer. You live in a world that wants manifestation but doesn't want prophecy. You live in a world that wants peace but doesn't want Jesus. You live in a world that wants to know unity but doesn't want to know cost and sacrifice. And so for me personally, my advice to you living in the modern world is, I think you're going to look more and more different. We looked different when we were your age, but you're going to look more and more different to the world if you decide to follow Jesus. Mm-hmm. So I just think it's almost that is both super encouraging and super challenging, isn't it? Because the last thing you want me to tell you is that you're going to stand out, you're going to be different, you're going to look different, you're going to have to make tough decisions. But I think the verse that you're studying, Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life. Jesus says, if you want to follow me, you need to pick up your cross and come and follow me. So I would just say, don't strip out what you want from Jesus and leave Jesus. Now, don't strip out what you think's good and nice from it and then leave Jesus somewhere left. Follow Jesus, follow him with your whole heart, follow him for his word, follow him and be true to what he says and watch what he will do. And I think, I would say humbly, the reason people ask us to share our story in South Africa is because we were naive at that stage and we were just like, I don't know, if God said it, we'll do it. I don't know, if God said it, we'll do it. Okay, we'll do it. So I sometimes listen to myself then and feel challenged, because I know that I'm making decisions sometimes that don't live up to that sense of pure call to follow Jesus. So I would say to you, follow Jesus, and don't just follow the elements of that you like. Follow Jesus, follow him for his entirety.
That's the end of the interview, but thank you for sharing.
No problem. Thank you.